call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Shout out to the Coffee Club, the Bean Gang out there watching the sunrise this morning. Appreciate everybody else tuning in today throughout your day. Okay, we were supposed to hear from Malik Thomas on Monday, but that got pushed back last minute until Tuesday, effectively killing a planned segment here for the Pod at the Palace because I knew he would have some fire quotes. The good news is we will have that for you tomorrow. Instead, the bad news is maybe this won't be an hour-long episode, although I say that, you never know where the night will take us. But still some good stuff to get into today for sure. I want to predict all these SEC-ACC challenge games, see how close we get to getting them all right. That starts tonight. It goes through Wednesday. Obviously, Arkansas plays on Wednesday. Those pesky old net rankings came out just like we expected them to. We'll see if we can make sense of it all. Is Arkansas too high, too low, just right? I'll tell you what I think. And we'll also take a first glance at Louisville ahead of this big matchup at Bud Walton Arena. Listen, there's no such thing as a, must win the first week of December, but man, this feels like a really, really big one for Arkansas here. Just have to take advantage of an opportunity like this at home, but it ain't going to be easy. We'll talk about it in a moment. Hey, today's episode of the Pod at the Palace is presented by our friends over at Drain Masters of Arkansas. Drain Masters are officially licensed in plumbing and drain cleaning while serving the River Valley, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, and beyond. They're ready to handle all plumbing and drain cleaning needs with professional, reliable service. To request a service, give them a call today at 479-646-5585 or scan the QR code on your screen. You can also like their Facebook page, Drain Masters, Inc. Be sure to tell them that Inside Arkansas sent you and get 10% off all your services. Anything and everything plumbing related. No job is too big or too small. Drain Masters of Arkansas has you covered. All right. Let's start with the net rankings, folks. Let's just get it out of the way. First thing I want to do, I think just real quick, a refresher on what these are and what they mean. And if you guys have been rocking with this show for the last couple years, you know already. You got a pretty good idea about it because we reference it so much. Some of you are new. Hey, welcome. Glad that you're here. But we're going to be talking about it a lot. So I do think it's important that you have an understanding of what these net rankings are because they're not the end-all be-all. But boy, we sure refer to them like they are. And they say it doesn't matter. But man, you sure feel like they do when it's all said and done. The bracketologists out there, they're going to yell at you for viewing these rankings as rankings, even though that's exactly what they're called, the net rankings. What they're trying to say is, because you'll see all these folks, if you follow any bracketologists out there, they'll be like, the net is not ranking, it's a sorting tool. That's true. What they're trying to say when they're acting like you're idiots is that the actual number for these rankings, it doesn't really matter. Now, we can assign trends to them like, okay, if a team finishes higher than whatever in the net, then you're almost guaranteed to make the NCAA tournament based on what we've seen over the past few years or whatever. But the committee doesn't necessarily look at those lists, those rankings, as much as it kind of sorts these teams into categories based on their resume. So yeah, what it's really intended to be is a sorting tool. It organizes a team resume based on categorizing your wins and losses. They place value on every game that you play, and they put them into those quadrants, quadrant 1 through quadrant 4, Q1 being the best wins you can have, whether it's against a top opponent at home or you go on the road and get a big win, whatever, based on their rankings. Quad 4 being the Jackson States of the world, right? And also accounts for your offensive and defensive efficiency. In fact, I've got the graphic that they use, and I can just pull it up. That way you guys can look at, kind of everything that goes into it, I guess. But you can see here, results do matter. Yes, of course. Who you play and where you play and how you play along the way, those things are all factored in here. The net efficiency, you can see there, point number 2, that is where Arkansas seems to get dinged every year, this time of year. Because when's the last time an Arkansas team has had it figured out by the time these things are released? I don't recall that ever being a thing. And we're seeing it again here this year. It's not to the degree that it has been in the past, which is why, we've seen Arkansas debut in like the 80s in this thing. and that's not where they're at here. But it's the efficiency stuff matters. Okay, so you can see on the graphic there, number 5, scoring margin. So that's capped for consideration at 10 points. So they're trying not to reward teams too much for just crushing cans. And so when I talk about style points with all this, you're like, hey, Arkansas is going to get those style points. They need to blow this team out and get these style points. It's not because if you beat a team by 50, because you did that, you're going to get a bump in your net ranking. No, it's just if you beat a team like that, chances are you were highly efficient doing it. Okay, so anything over 10 points doesn't matter for 0.5 there in the scoring margin, but chances are it's going to increase number 2, which is your net efficiency on offense and on defense. You beat a team like that, chances are you're going to play well on both sides of the ball. That's where you move up. That's something that's keeping Arkansas back right now. So the Razorbacks debuted in this thing at number 45. Lower than I expected, but not crazy. I think I said yesterday on the show, maybe in the 35 to 40-ish range. I know that they were 35th in the projections over at Warren Nolan, and I thought that might have been just a little bit high for them. So, this isn't crazy to see. It's frustrating because, obviously you want Arkansas to be higher. I understand that. We know the drill here, though. Like, the next time we're happy with Arkansas's net ranking will be the first time. So there's that. But also, by the time you guys are watching this Tuesday morning, this is changed. It updates every morning, bright and early. It's a daily thing. So don't get too stressed about it. It's going to do that the entire year. And it's like we said, Arkansas is, yesterday when we were kind of previewing this, Arkansas has got how many games they have left to play? They played 7. So they've got 24 games left. 20 of them are going to be Q1 and Q2. So the resume it's not even started in terms of being built out. You just wish you were in a better starting place, and you will be if you handle business this week. But at any rate, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up. I just kind of pulled the SEC net rankings. That way we can look at them here and see where Arkansas stacks up relative to the rest of the conference. There's some interesting stuff in here. I think at least you're going to see some things that irritate you, but let's start through the top and we'll kind of roll our way through it here pretty quickly. The top team in the net rankings in the SEC, shout out to Vanderbilt. This feels a little bit validating for me because I've been stumping for these dudes all year. And it's like, man, they really looked the part and they just need to beat somebody. And, they had that big weekend with VCU and St. Mary's. They smacked both those teams. And here they are at number 4 in the net. Now, excuse me, is that going to hold? No, probably not. But a big part of this for them, it's not like they have all those massive, massive wins and quadrant 1 games and everything like that. But they do have the number 1 offensive efficiency in the country. So that'll do it. Tennessee up there at number 12. That Houston win is obviously very, very big for them. We know how good they are defensively. Alabama at 14, they're a little bit lower than I thought they would be just because that schedule was so tough. And I know they've lost 2 of those games. I think losing that home game to Purdue, even though there's no shame in that, it is a home loss. And I'm guessing that they were favored going into that game and they wound up losing by 7 or 8. And then they lost double digits to Gonzaga, which was, I'm sure, beyond whatever the spread was. So there's that factor of it. Hang on, I'm looking at I got my monitor up here. I got to check on the little fella. No, he's good. It said his face was covered. We got to check on that. Sometimes it's just him flopping around like a ninja in his bassinet. But no, he's good. Apologies. Recording, but I am doing it in real time. So at any rate, Kentucky, that's where everybody's going to get pissed off. 15 for Kentucky. Why? How? How are they 30 spots higher than Arkansas based on what? They don't have a top 200 win at KenPom. They've gotten their butts beat in both of their games of note. So what exactly is it that they're doing well? Is it just because they've beaten only quad 4 teams by a lot? I mean, Arkansas has a quadrant 2 win, at least. Shout out Winthrop. I'm having a really hard time understanding how that's the case. I'm also having a really hard time understanding like their KenPom numbers. How are their top 20 in both offensive and defensive rating? A lot of that's because that preseason bias is still built in. But Kentucky, I don't think has done anything to warrant being a top 15 team in the net. I'm not saying they won't be at the end of the year. I'm not trying to throw too much shade at them because of the Cal thing, but they look like crap. Like, beat North Carolina or something this evening, and then maybe we could talk about the top 25, but this just does not make any sense to me how that's worked out. Or if they're going to be 15, I don't see how Arkansas is not 25 at least. It's very strange. But I guess it's because right now them getting their butts beat by real teams is not weighed as heavily as them running it up on bums, whereas Arkansas is not getting enough credit for battling in these close losses against really good opponents, and they must just really be getting dinged for winning games over Winthrop and Sanford and just not doing it as pretty as people want them to. But whatever. Weird deal. LSU at 19. Wow. They're up there. They've looked pretty good. They haven't really played anyone yet, but they've kind of beat up on everybody that you've seen. So we'll see what that looks like as they, increase their strength of schedule a little bit. Auburn at 30, Florida at 33, Georgia at 36. All those look fine for now. And there's some teams that are struggling though. Like you've got Arkansas at 45, Missouri at 51. Then it kind of drops off a cliff. I mean, Texas at 68, A&M at 79. Here's two that kind of surprised me. Oklahoma at 94. And they got that win over Marquette. They struggle in some of their big games. Ole Miss at 96. I know they lost a couple games there last week. It's to Iowa and Utah. And I think they lost both of them by like a combined 6 points. But yeah, they were way down there. South Carolina at 99. And then our might be asked participant, Mississippi State, bringing up the rear of the SEC at number 112. That's rough stuff. Rough stuff for Mississippi State. So you might not be overly thrilled with where Arkansas is right now in the net, middle of the pack in the SEC. But as you can see there, some of these other teams that had high expectations, not where they expected to be either. But like I said, it'll continue to evolve every single day. This opportunity against Louisville is going to be it's notable. Like it's going to be a big one. They are top 10 in the net rankings. So, you get a big Q1A win like that, and it's going to really boost you up when you have such a small sample size. But yeah, Duke, Michigan State are really high up there who you've already played. But yeah, shout out to Winthrop. That one surprised me. They're at 75 in the net right now. So that makes that a quadrant 2 win for Arkansas. And I just didn't expect that to be the case. Like yesterday, we did everybody's best win according to KenPom, and Arkansas is way down there. I bet if we did it according to the net, they'd be quite a bit higher, which is what matters because that's how they decide those quadrants. Anyway, moving on from that. And, we don't talk about it every single day, but maybe once a week or something. We'll just kind of do a net check for the Razorbacks after the weekend or something. Anyway, I can't believe it, but it happened. We had talked ourselves completely out of it yesterday when we were previewing the AP poll, but Arkansas hung on to a spot in the top 25 at number 25. How about that? Still in there. It's a top 25 matchup at Bud Walton Arena. Louisville's number 6, by the way. But one spot behind our old friend Eric Musselman at USC. The poll comes out at noon, and at 12:01, I got a text message from one of his staff members that just said USC 24, Arkansas 25. And I was like, what the hell does this mean? Oh, the AP poll. So you're rubbing that in my face now. Still got buddies on that staff who were here at Arkansas for a long time, but got a kick out of that. They thought to text me or whatever, and I was texting back in real time. It turns out they were watching us on Inside Arkansas Live, which was cool too. It's like, we see you live right now. I would have loved to bring it up right then, but we were knee deep in football talk. Anyway, so Arkansas is at number 25, and I guess the Razorbacks having some staying power here goes back to kind of what we were thinking yesterday, which is so early in the season, voters they're voting on teams all across the country, but they have their specific beats that they're on. They cover certain teams. And so you've got team sheets and analytics, and you'll go look at box scores and, highlights if you're doing your job or whatever. But I just have a feeling that Thanksgiving night CBS showcase game against Duke, a lot of voters that just hadn't sat and watched Arkansas in person did. And I think they came away impressed despite the result. Otherwise, I don't know why Arkansas would still be in there, given what some other teams did and where they were at in the rankings going into the week and all those things. So that's cool. I think that's a sign of respect for the Razorbacks here. Wow. Who knew? But now you have to finish one, right? And so Louisville's going to walk into Bud Walton Arena ranked 6th Wednesday night. Arkansas's 2 losses, by the way, came to number 4 and number 7 in the AP poll. So sandwiched right in between that. Back-to-back top 10 games here for the Razorbacks. You got to get one of them. Big, big, big opportunity for Arkansas. They need to take advantage of it. No SEC teams in the top 10 of the AP poll. You get 14 in the tournament last year. You had, the national champion. What was it? 5 of the Elite 8 or whatever. Like, it was crazy. And not a single SEC team is in the top 10 as we flip the calendar to December. Now, do I think it's going to end that way? No. But I'm a little bit surprised that's the case right now. Let's see. Bama, the highest at number 12. Tennessee right behind them at 13. Florida at 15, which that feels highly questionable right now. Vandy at 17. So they jumped up quite a bit after last week, as they should have. Kentucky 18. I mean, okay, why? I don't know. Auburn at 20 and then Arkansas at 25. The 2 teams receiving votes are Mizzou and LSU in there. Kind of surprised to not see Georgia. Whatever, who cares? Moving on from the rankings. Hey, today's episode of the Pot to Palace is presented by Gracie Frizzell of Collier & Associates, our official real estate expert here at Inside Arkansas. Officially licensed in both Arkansas and Oklahoma, Gracie is here to take care of your real estate needs. Whether you're looking for investment property, a game day getaway, a land investment, or a new home, shout out John Neighbors, Gracie is your trusted guide from start to finish. Give her a call or shoot her a text today at 501-690-3868. That's 501-690-3868 for questions on all things real estate, or check her out on Instagram at Gracie Frizz. It's Gracie Frizzell of Collier & Associates, the official real estate expert of Inside Arkansas. All right, so now what I want to do, this is a big week. Most teams have an important opportunity here between the SEC and the ACC because of the challenge. By the way, I'm calling it the SEC-ACC challenge because I think the SEC is superior. And you want to do it in the alphabetical order. If you see it on ESPN, it'll say ACC, SEC. Yes, I'm going against their wishes. Maybe I'm going against a trademark. I don't care. Sue me. It's the SEC-ACC challenge. When you're more competitive than losing 14 out of 16 games, then we can think about putting your conference first, all right? But that hasn't happened yet, so you're bringing up the rear in these conversations. Deal with it. But yeah, the SEC did dominate last year. I mean, 14-2 in those games, and that's kind of when people started to realize, dang, this league might be really good, or the ACC might just be really bad. Turned out both were the case. I don't think the SEC is as strong this year. Still a very good league. I do think the ACC is improved, but not as good. So let's see where we wind up here. Let's pull this up, and you guys can throw your predictions in there as well. Where's it at? There we go. Left column are the Tuesday games. Right column are the Wednesday games. Excuse me. Tuesday night, Tennessee at Syracuse. I think Tennessee's going to win that game. I don't think we have to go too in depth in all of these. Tennessee's looking pretty good here. Syracuse is off to a little bit of a rocky start. I know they're like 70, 75 at Ken Palm right now. It's on the road, which is weird. Here's the big thing about that game. Is this too much orange? Is there a such thing as too much orange in one place between Tennessee and Syracuse? That's a lot going on. It is a road game, so sometimes that can get tricky. And Syracuse got a couple guards that can play. JJ Starling, really good. Kyan Anthony, Melo's kid, good player. But the Tennessee and that defense, I think, is a pretty safe bet that they're going to get that one done. Texas A&M at Pitt. Who cares about this game? This is interesting. Texas A&M, they got that big win over Florida State, but outside of that, they haven't looked great this season. I think they're a volatile team. They shoot a ton of threes, and so sure, they can have those games where they rattle off a bunch of them and they can pick off anybody. But if you slow that down, they really, really struggle. And Pitt, on the other hand, has been up and down as well. They lost to Quinnipiac at home by 8. And that's a little bit alarming, I think. And they got beat up on by West Virginia on the road. I think they got 20 balled in that game. So it's like, I don't know about those dudes. But then they turned around and beat Ohio State on a buzzer beater the other day. So they're capable. I'm just going to take Pitt to win this game at home. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. South Carolina, one of the bottom feeders in the SEC. Virginia Tech, I think, is a sneaky contender in the ACC, in the top half of that league, maybe in the top 4. They've got Nicolas Avdalis, the international guy that we talked a lot about in the offseason, who's been sensational for them. I think Virginia Tech goes and gets that done on the road. Oklahoma at Wake. This is an interesting game. We just talked about where Oklahoma was at in their rankings, in the net rankings, way lower than maybe we anticipated they would be. But part of that's because they got smacked around in some of their important games, and that win over Marquette is against a Marquette team that's just not what they've been the last few years here. Now, Wake is an interesting case here because you guys remember how good Michigan was last week? Went 3-0 in the Players era and won by like an average of 36 points per game. It's crazy. Well, Wake took them to overtime and lost by 1. And then they played what we know is a very good Texas Tech team and lost by 1. Then they played a Memphis team who's kind of mid. We know that. They beat them by 1. Remember that buzzer beater 3? I think it was down there in Atlantis. So Wake's played a lot of really good teams, really close. I'm going to give Wake this one at home. Why not? Florida at Duke. You see my picks underlined here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going with Florida. And I know what you're thinking. Are you on drugs? Florida's look like crap. Duke is undefeated. They're playing at Cameron Indoor. Yeah, I understand all those things. Here's the other thing that I think about Duke. They are very, 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 very Cam Boozer reliant, as they should be, because the dude is really, really good. Who is going to be able to take over a basketball game if he's limited on that roster? I'm not sure yet who that would be. So the next question is, who has a team that can slow down Cam Boozer? If anyone does, it's Florida. That whole front court is back. Tommy Houck, Alex Condon, Ruben Chinyelu, Micah Hand-Logden, body after body after body, really, really good players who have won a national championship. If there's a team out there that can contain Cam Boozer, it's Florida. Now, will Xavier Lee or Boogie Flan make a shot? I don't know. But I'm banking on Florida going down there and being able to corral Boozer to a degree, and Duke having some problems figuring out who the next guy is going to be. So I'm calling for an upset there. Got to be bold here with some of these picks. I mean, otherwise it's boring, right? Mizzou at Notre Dame. Interesting game here. Mizzou undefeated. We've talked about them. They just haven't really tested themselves, I guess you could say. They played Minnesota at home. Minnesota's pretty bad. Okay, whatever. Notre Dame, on the other hand, what have they done? Let me pull up their. Yeah, they're 5-3, but the only time I've watched Notre Dame this year was when they played Houston at Players Era, and they lost by 10, but they played them pretty well. They hung with Kansas. That was a 10-point game. They beat Rutgers. They lost to Ohio State by 1. So they've been really competitive in all these games. I'm taking Notre Dame to win this one. I'm not there yet with Mizzou. I'm not sold. They got Marcus Burton, who's a really good player, by the way, Notre Dame. Miami at Ole Miss. Miami, I think, is a team that could be on the rise. They're going to get better and better as the season progresses. And I know they took a double-digit loss to Florida earlier in the year. Have they beaten anyone of note? They beat Georgetown by double digits the other day, so good on them for that. They played BYU fairly competitive. Ole Miss has struggled, here over the course of the last week with back-to-back losses. They get this one at home, though, and I'm just going to bet on Chris Beard to get it done at home. So I'm going with Ole Miss. Georgia at Florida State. Florida State just got absolutely drugged by Texas A&M, and that's a program that's going to take a little while to rebuild that and get that thing going. Georgia has looked pretty good, in my opinion, so far. I think I got them at 7th in the SEC power rankings. I don't know that it's going to be like a hostile environment or whatever in Tallahassee, so give me Georgia to win that one. North Carolina at Kentucky. I went back and forth on this one until I saw I think it was Jack Pilgrim that reported Jalen Lowe, not surprising, but also Mo Diabate are both going to be out for Kentucky in this game. So that's tough because when I look at North Carolina, they're without Seth Trimble, who's arguably their best guard, one of their better guards. Kentucky's without Jalen Lowe, who's probably their best guard. It's like maybe that cancels itself out. I'm not necessarily sold on either backcourt here. And I think that North Carolina has a significant advantage up front. Like Henry Visar, good luck, Brandon Garrison, with that one. And without Mo Diabate, who the hell is going to guard Caleb Wilson out there? That's tough. So it is at Rupp, and I would imagine Kentucky's favored in that game. You would think them playing at home that they would find a way. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I do think some of these things go towards the advantage North Carolina. So I'm going with the Tar Heels. Wednesday's games, we'll go through these fairly quick. Louisville at Arkansas, of course, I'm picking Arkansas. I think they should win at home. Louisville's very good. And if I'm being honest with you guys, based on what I've seen, and I've watched a couple of their games now, if you put Louisville and Arkansas on a neutral floor and played a 7-game series, I would probably take Louisville to win in 7. I mean, that's just where I'm at right now. But at Bud Walton Arena should be a big-time atmosphere. These guys will be jacked up for it. I think they understand the importance of this. So does Louisville. But in a coin flip type of game like this, I go with the home team. Clemson at Bama. Give me Bama. Clemson's not as good as they have been the last few years. I think they could still be a tournament team, but Bama's going to be a tough out in their home building. LSU, who we've talked about, who's looked really, really good so far, not really going to be tested here. Boston College is not – they're not good at basketball. I don't know how to put it nicely. How are they doing so far? 4-4. Lost to Florida Atlantic. They lost to Central Connecticut. They lost to Davidson. They lost to Tulane. Do I need to say anything else? I don't think so. LSU gets that one done. NC State, the Fighting Will Wade's going to Auburn. Maybe when this was, if you asked me a couple weeks ago, I probably went with the Wolfpack because I like what Will Wade's got going on over there. I think they're going to be really good for a first-year team. Auburn looked a little bit shaky out of the gate. Stephen Pearl, first year, what's going on there? But honestly, over the last couple of weeks, both teams are trending in opposite directions. NC State went 1-2 out at Maui. They lost to Texas down there. And Auburn, credit to them, like they hung with Houston. They lost that game, whatever. They got blasted by Michigan. So has everyone else, literally. But they picked up nice wins over Oregon and St. John's. They seem to be rolling, and they're playing at home. And that's a tough place to go win. So I'm gonna stick with Auburn there. Wouldn't be surprised if that game got a little bit weird, but I'll stick with Auburn. Virginia at Texas. I'm gonna go with Virginia to win this basketball game. I am still not sold on Texas. Nice win for them over NC State, but I keep going back to the thing of if Tremont Mark is your guy, we've seen what that plays out as. So. And Virginia's looked pretty good. Just forget everything you know about Virginia basketball, under Tony Bennett and the pack line defense and the mover blocker offense and slowed down pace and winning games in the 50s. No, they get after it a little bit more than they did. Now they're still playing a fairly slow tempo, but they're scoring more. It's a little bit more modernized there under Ryan Odom, who came over from VCU, but they're off to a pretty good start. 6-1. They did lose to Butler. I know that's probably a loss that is not going to age particularly well. Now, Butler's off to a decent start, so maybe they're going to surprise some folks, but their only win of note is against Northwestern. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it with Texas. So I'm going to go with Virginia there, go out on a limb. SMU at Vandy. Give me Vandy by however many they want to win by. I'm just really impressed with Vanderbilt. And they're 11-point favorites at home against SMU in at Ken Palm. SMU did just beat Mississippi State at the hump. So I'll give them credit for that. You know, even though Mississippi State is stinky poo, going in there and winning a game in the hump is good. So shout out to them. They're 8-0. So credit where it's due there. Who have they played? They are the team who beat Butler. So yeah, I mean, yeah, SMU's got a couple nice wins. I don't think they're going to be able to hang with Vanderbilt in terms of the firepower. And then Mississippi State at Georgia Tech. I know I've been talking greasy about Mississippi State here. I'm going to pick them to win this game. Why? Because Georgia Tech is bad too. Okay. Georgia beat them. DePaul beat them. Drake beat them. It's not going to be a huge home court advantage. I just go out on a limb here. I'll say that Josh Hubbard has a big game and Mississippi State gets it done. And maybe I won't have to talk bad about him until, this time next week or something. So there you have it. Our SEC-ACC challenge picks are in, and we'll see how it goes. I think that would have been, hold up. Let me pull my graphic back up here. If we're talking about who's going to win this challenge. SEC, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 and 6 for the SEC. That feels about right. The 14-2 stuff was crazy, but at any rate, we'll see how it plays out. I'm looking forward to watching a lot of good basketball here over the course of the next 48 hours. And that includes Arkansas Louisville, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But first, folks, listen, Goat Lab Red in Fayetteville, it's the place to be for Razorback pre- and post-game this season. Make sure you stop by Oak Plaza on North Garland and get you some of the best brews, burgers, and wings around. You can sip on signature Goat Lab brews like Razorback, Tusk, and Tusk Light. Heck, if you show up for lunch, I won't shame you for day drinking. I've been there. But be warned, you will see our mugs up on the screen where they stream Inside Arkansas Live on the daily. Appreciate them for that. That's good stuff. And you never know who you might run into out there. It could even be your athletic director. So we'll see you tip off at Goat Lab Red, your new game day tradition right here in Fayetteville. Okay, so I wanted to talk for not a long time, just a few minutes maybe about Louisville here. As we wrap the show, obviously we'll have our full game day preview and all that stuff for tomorrow morning. I've watched both of Louisville's games of note here in the past 24 hours. So it's fresh on my mind. Watch the Kentucky game, watch the Cincinnati game. Kentucky, they look great. Cincinnati, they won. They struggled a little bit. But I got to say, I like credit where it's due. Pat Kelsey's squad, I mean, they're up there with the top 2 to 3 teams that I've watched so far this year. They look good. They really do. I hope that Bud Walton is packed, and I hope it's on fire for this game because this is an electric matchup, and it deserves to have an electric atmosphere. The watchability here is off the charts. Like, even if you weren't a fan of either one of these teams and you needed something to do on Wednesday night, this is one to tune in. It's going to be highly entertaining. 2 super talented, very explosive teams. The pace is going to be fun. The star power is there. Like, this is a hell of a game. I think it's the best matchup. People will say Florida and Duke. That has the potential to be ugly. I just don't see a world where this Arkansas-Louisville game is not a good watch. Guys and gals, Louisville shoots the absolute crap out of it. I mean, these dudes let it rip. No conscious. And I hadn't really looked at their stats and everything before watching these games. I mean, I've heard plenty, and seen the discourse on them, but they really get them up there. And then I went and looked, and they're 4th in the country in scoring right now, over 96 points per game. 4th in the country in 3-point attempts, 35.6 threes they hoist up per game. And they're 2nd in 3-point makes. They make 13.3 a game. That's a lot. That's crazy. They're second in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're second in the country in threes per field goals attempted. So 54.5% of their total shots are from three. Their last game against NJIT, for whatever it's worth, they went 20 of 48 from three. So they're one of those teams. They play a kind of a different. They go about it differently than Alabama does, but from the pure we want threes or layups style of basketball, it's similar. And so they are one of those teams like Bama where catch them on a night where they're not knocking down a bunch of threes, they are very, very beatable. But they can also, on any night, hit 18 to 23s, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we'll see. They're very hard to guard because they constantly move off ball. The ball is always moving. Every action is purposeful, and they really spread it around. Alabama, they spread you out. They drive it on you. They're trying to get downhill first and kick out, and then they trust their guards as ISO players. And Louisville has some guys who can do that, but they run a lot more action, in my opinion. You'll see a lot of flare screens. They really operate well. Those guards do off of ball screens and reading the defense to get their looks. It's going to be a tough assignment for the Razorbacks there defensively. Louisville's 12th in the country in assist rate, if you're wondering how they share it. So I immediately worry about Darius Acuff in a game like this defensively when I watch Louisville and the way they run their offense. But he did play a lot better on the defensive end against Duke. And he's also going to be highly, highly motivated for this particular matchup. So I'm going to be interested to see how that goes. I think that this is going to be a big Carter and Billy game. It certainly should be. I expect some four guard looks out of Arkansas if Carter has his head on straight. You know what I mean? Like if he shows up to play and if he can guard Javon Hadley. And Javon Hadley's their four-man. He's 6'7", 210. So from a size standpoint, Carter's, an inch shorter and maybe 5 to 10 pounds heavier. So he should be able to handle that. He should be able to handle it athletically. He's kind of struggled, defending at the four so far this year. So that will determine a lot of that. Because if he can, then I think you'll see in certain lineups for stretches, they'll do the thing where it's Carter at the four and maybe even Trevin at the five. And Arkansas is just flying around and they're trying to switch everything. And that might not be a bad option in a game like this. So we'll see. Defensively, Louisville, they've held their last two opponents under 50, but it's been Eastern Michigan and NJIT. So I don't know. They do have some vulnerabilities there if you watch them. I think Arkansas should definitely have more success offensively than they did against Michigan State or Duke. Like it'll come a little bit easier for them against Louisville. If you want to see how good they can be, watch the Kentucky game. They completely outclassed Kentucky, and they looked really good doing it. If you want the blueprint for beating them, watch the Cincinnati game. Believe it or not, Cincinnati, who Arkansas beat like a drum in that exhibition, played them tighter than anyone this year and held them to 74 points. So there's that. We'll go a little bit more into detail about it tomorrow, but this is a guard-heavy team. They have a couple bigs who play their role, and they have one who kills them when he's on the floor. So, like their big guys, Sonata Frew is an international player, big-time energy guy, rebounder. You got to keep him off the offensive glass. He's not overly skilled, but he's a rim runner, offensive rebounder, the kind of guy who, given Arkansas's deficiencies, could give him some trouble. Connie Roos is he's more of a TB type of big. I think he's 6'10", 215 or so. Will stretch out the floor and shoot the three a little bit there. And then Ali Khalifa, now he's big, he's slow, he's terrible defensively. Spam pick and roll when he's in there for sure. A great passer at the five who sprays it to shooters, and their offense it really clicks when he's in there. But defensively, it's a drop off. Like if I'm John Calipari, every time I see Khalifa go to the scorer's table, I am sending Malik Ewan up there with him and telling him, hey, it's time to eat. Malik Ewan, by the way, he at Florida State last year, he played Louisville twice and went for 17 in the first game, and he went for 19 and 9 in the second game. For whatever that's worth. Few other quick hits, and then we'll go more in depth tomorrow. I mean, this I think is very clearly the best freshman point guard matchup in the country that you could ask for between Michael Brown and Darius Acuff. Get your popcorn ready. I mean, both these guys are terrific. And Brown, he's very dynamic. He's taller and longer than Acuff is. Acuff so far has been a better shooter, but both of those guys are just super, super dynamic players. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I want to look up Brown's stats real quick because I'm not sure. Let's see. Brown is, they got him listed at 6'5", 190. So he's more like league size. But 17.6 assists per game for Michael Brown Jr. What's he shooting it from three? 30.6%. So a little bit meh there from three so far. Finishing well around the rim. So that's him. And then on the flip side, you got Darius Acuff, who, as we sit here today, is averaging 17.4 points, 4.4 assists, but he's just shooting the cover off of him from three. Shout out to Darius Acuff, man. 45% from three. And he's putting up almost 6 a game. I mean, at some point, I think that'll level out, but maybe he could just be a 40%-ish three-point shooter the entire season. That has been a pleasant surprise. I thought he was better than he was given credit for, but I was thinking, okay, like he'll give you, maybe he shoots 3 or so a game, 3.5 a game, and he shoots at 33% for you or something, and then you're fine there. Like, they have to respect him. No, he's an absolute sniper. So good on Acuff. But yeah, Brown Acuff, that's the matchup that's going to have everybody's attention. Louisville's 2 shooters, Ryan Conwell and Isaac McNeely, are ridiculous. These dudes are ridiculous. Like, think about Malik Thomas levels of confidence getting shots up, but legit 40+% accuracy. Speaking of Leak, there has never been a more Malik Thomas type of game than this one. I think Leak is on big game watch for Arkansas here. But yeah, I mean, Conwell's really good. He can do it a number of ways. He knocks down a ton of threes. There's been several games already this year where he's hit 5 or more and goes for over 20 points. And, he gets to the free throw line. He's really good. So as good as Brown is, Conwell's kind of been, he might be their best overall player. I don't know. It's hard to say. Although this might be the best backcourt in the country, one of them at least. So I'm going to be very anxious to see how Arkansas goes about this from a matchup standpoint. We'll put our predictions out for that tomorrow. But you need a good defensive game from DJ. You need Carter locked in. You need Billy locked in. The reason I said this could be a Carter and Billy game is because you need some perimeter defense in this one. And my thought is, okay, who are you going to put Billy on to harass the entire game? Do you put his length on that freshman point guard and try to make his life hell? Do you put him on Conwell, who's like 6'4", 215, and try to match him there? Maybe that's a good matchup for Carter. Or DJ, giving up a little bit of weight, but same height. We know how good DJ is. You put DJ on Brown. We'll figure all that out tomorrow. But yeah, Conwell's good. And then Isaac McNeely is he's just a sniper. He's kind of that guy that Arkansas fans have wish they could have since Rodney Clark or whatever. But he has taken 8 shots this entire season that were not threes. So my man is getting up the perimeter jumpers. Exciting white, Isaac McNeely. Okay. We'll save the rest for tomorrow, but I had just finished watching their Cincinnati game before I started recording here, and I wanted to fire off some quick takes, but this is going to be a hell of a matchup. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know that we've spoken to, gosh, man, I'm thinking about by the time Arkansas and Bama play, how fun it'll be to watch these two backcourts go at it, and there's a lot of potential for that to be an instant classic type of game. I really think that this has some of those ingredients too between Arkansas and Louisville. And hopefully the Hogs are ready to play. And like I said, man, hopefully that atmosphere is charged up, juiced up, and ready to go. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. and we'll break it all down tomorrow. We should have some good quotes from Malik Thomas. His press conference will be Tuesday, I think a little before noon. So we'll see what he has to say in the lead up to this matchup, and then we'll break it all down. You guys know the drill, the matchups, the stats to strive for, what to watch, all those things there. We'll have it all for you right here at the Pod the Palace. So make sure you subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Turn those notifications on, man, because you've been watching the new football coach, like the dude's getting after it from the recruiting standpoint. He won a lot of people over with his first full day on the job by flipping a bunch of in-state kids. And man, like the portal's getting ready to open, and signing day is coming around. So you want to be notified whenever things happen, and we go live and break some news. So make sure that you do that before you get out of here today. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Enjoy yourself. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Path to Palace. We'll see you later.